Urgan is 9 years old. He lives in the small village of Tangyer, perched in a lost valley of the Himalayas at an altitude of 12,000 feet. In a few days, Urgan will leave his family to begin the adventure of his life as a man. Like several of his friends, he's going to enter the monastery to study the teachings of Tantric Buddhism, a religion filled with magic and demons. According to tradition, Urgan's mother has chosen to send her youngest son to the monastery. In Tibet, becoming a lama is the best thing that can happen to a child. The day of departure is already here. Before the sun rises, Urgan gets ready to leave with his uncle. Together, they will cross the distant Wari Pass. It's time to say goodbye. Urgan and his mother will not see each other for a year. Urgan's uncle is a caravaner. He has to go and sell his yaks in a village located at the other end of the valley, a trip requiring days of walking. Reaching the pass is difficult. Here in winter, the temperature drops to minus 20 degrees and the snow is thick. Fortunately, the weather is good, with no sign of a blizzard or an avalanche. The final steps are the hardest. At an altitude of 15,000 feet, oxygen is rare and the slightest movement exhausting. Urgan is now at the lamasery. He is welcomed by the monastery's head lama. The lama explains the rules of his new life to Urgan. He must get up early and concentrate on his studies. If he practices the religion well and can transmit his knowledge to others, he will become a good lama. He must, above all, respect his masters and his elders. A ceremony marks Urgan's entrance into the monastery. The lamas present are the oldest and the most respected by the community. A lock of hair is cut symbolically, a sign that he has entered into the orders of Tibetan Buddhism. It's time for Urgan to meet his master, the lama who will share his cell and be in charge of his education. He will explain to the boy that he no longer has the right to play while at the monastery. He must be serious now and forget his former childhood. Urgan is seated with the other novices. They are all between 8 and 20 years old. The youngster now wears a purple robe. After a breakfast of barley and salted tea, the day begins with prayers. In 11 years, when he is 20, Urgan can decide either to remain a monk or to leave the monastery and go back to raising goats and yaks in his village. Every day, the novices study at the monastery school. They recite the mantras, sacred words which they must repeat all day long. Urgan learns to read and write Hindi, in addition to Tibetan and English. In the afternoon, the children ask questions in turn and try to answer them. They thus sharpen their minds. Then, the questions they cannot answer are submitted to their masters. For Urgen, a new life has begun. He is no longer a child. In the heart of the Himalaya is a small Buddhist realm known as Zanskar. Here, in the village of Karsha, perched at an altitude of 3,800 meters, winters last 9 months, and the temperature sometimes plummets to minus 30 degrees centigrade. Tenzin and Palkit have been inseparable since childhood. Tenzin has just learned that her life is about to change. Very soon, she will leave her home, her family, and her friends because her parents have decided to marry her to a young man she doesn't know at all. They go see an astrologer to select the wedding date. After consulting his books, he decides the best time would be the 3rd day in the 12th month of the year. Meanwhile, preparations for the wedding are underway in the village of Karsha. Tenzin and his mother Amalay start fermenting 100 kilos of barley to prepare the traditional beverage called chang. Tenzin and Palkit take advantage of their final moments together because they know their childhood will soon be over and that for them, nothing will ever be the same. Amalay prepares the perak, the traditional headdress she will give to her daughter. She received it from her own mother when she was married. Palkit is also leaving the village, but not to get married. She has decided to become a nun in the monastery. In the village of Tenzin's fiancé, everyone gets together to celebrate the upcoming wedding. The future groom will not travel to get his bride. A troop of horsemen will do this for him. The villagers of Karsha are also celebrating, still not thinking about the moment of separation. Because even though Tenzin's parents are sad to see their daughter leave, they are certain they've taken the best decision for her future. Their parents did the same for them, as did their parents and every generation before. The groom's horsemen, the Nyatpa, have donned their finery and arrived to take Tenzin back to her new family. It's a long way from their village, but they must not sleep before their mission is accomplished. The same ritual occurs as they pass through each village. The groom's horsemen are offered food and drink. In exchange, they must sing and offer money in thanks. Tenzin is ready. Her friend Palkit is at her side, waiting for those who are coming to kidnap her. According to tradition, she hides under a piece of fabric, and the chief of the horsemen must point to her with an arrow before taking her away. The time for goodbyes has finally come. Tenzin leaves. Halfway toward her new life, she knows that she's leaving her childhood and her family behind forever.